Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. It's honestly been far too long, but we're finally having another DPS Showdown featuring the brand newish jacket-less 5-star DPS character Neuvillette, the OG jacket ordainer Yelan, and our shiniest newest floppy jacket wearer Wriothesley. It's nice to be back having our favorite DPS jackets in a no-holds-barred massacre of the local fauna of Tevat that's colloquially known as a DPS Showdown. But really quick, I've got the perfect sponsor for all you gamers today, Southern New Hampshire University. If you're tired of the daily slog, this is the perfect opportunity to break free and do something that you're passionate about. Southern New Hampshire University offers an entirely online, full-fledged Bachelor of Science degree in game programming and development. And if you're passionate like I am about collecting the most delectable waifus and husbandos in games, well, you can even be a part of creating them with the knowledge that you can learn from SNHU. You'll level up your 2D and 3D modeling capabilities and master the most important graphical fidelity of them all, physics. You'll learn literally every core facet of creating an engaging game, including game AI, flawless user interfaces, multiple programming languages, and so much more. You'll learn C++, C#, and Java, which will set you up to be able to develop for a litany of different game engines, including but not limited to Unreal Engine, Unity, Godot, and so many more. Courses are taught by faculty with real-world experience, where you'll be able to start building your network and connecting with people in the gaming industry. SNHU will even help you with your job hunt by providing career guidance, building up your portfolio, and so much more. Just go to snhu.edu/iwintolose. Signing up for more information is completely free and takes just 30 seconds, and it also helps me out a ton. They're very quick to provide you more information to kickstart your passion into a potential career. So what are you waiting for? Just smash that link, snhu.edu/iwintolose, down below. Huge thanks to Southern New Hampshire University for sponsoring today's video. So why this misfitted combination of misfitted jackets? Originally, I included the ultimate sleeved jacket, Ayato, instead of Wriothesley for a Hydro-themed DPS Showdown. But I wasn't happy with my Ayato runs, and fortunately, Wriothesley came out at the perfect time for me to include him instead. That's right, in the first corner we have the original floppy jacket donner herself, Yelan. Yelan has revolutionized jacket technology by moving at hyperspeed while miraculously keeping her jacket glued to her shoulders, as her jacket has an epic battle with air resistance and its desire to keep her shoulders warm. And today, she'll be racing against two new shiny husbandos. The first one to throw down his jacket into the ring is Neuvillette. Now you might be wondering, Neuvillette? Is he wearing a jacket? How can he possibly be in this jacket-themed DPS Showdown? Well, take a closer look, my friend, for he is wearing a N.O jacket, aka the nobly ordained jacket. I'm positive that this is actually two articles of clothing, one consisting of the fish-like looking robe on the inside and the NO jacket with little dangling triangles around his shoulders. Let me know if you think he's actually wearing a jacket or not. And that's the perfect lack of a segue to the next jacket power creeping the jacket meta, Wriothesley. Wriothesley is definitely the owner of the thickest jacket in Genshin Impact. It's so thick that he doesn't even need to drape it over his shoulders for it to stay adhered to his jacket magnet of an upper torso. So which jacket will reign supreme? With all of our jackets zipped up and ready to bundle, let's cozy up for our long-awaited DPS zip down. Alright, but before that we need to talk about the rules. I allow all three characters to use their mechanics to the fullest, which means building stacks when possible prior to the fight. This includes Yelan's Constellation 4, Neuvillette's passive Draconic stacks, and Wriothesley's Gracious Rebuke. Do keep in mind that all my characters are at Constellation 6 Refinement 5. So this is a showcase of these characters near their peak potential. And now for everyone's favorite jacket of the video, the disclaimers. All the runs of this video can be improved. I simply knit each of these runs a few times and pick the best time for each of these situations. I'm not here to knit infinitely, just save a few threads to a few seconds. Each of these jackets were sewn to the best of my abilities within a reasonable amount of time. This is simply an anecdotal comparisons between these jackets and my levels of investment, problem solving, and thread count. Since the jackets in this video are all at Constellation 6 Refinement 5, this is not an accurate reflection of their fabric levels at lower levels of thread count. Just because jacket A did better than jacket B in a specific scenario does not mean that jacket A is warmer than jacket B. Please wear everything with a giant button of salt. We'll start off as we always do, with everyone's favorite appetizer, the friendliest salad in Teyvat, the Regis Vines. As usual, this fight is comically short, and that means that Yelan's signature armpit pose is going to take up the majority of the time for this fight. I still find it interesting though to see how fast these $2,000 jackets can wipe out a fairly squishy target like the Regis Vine. It took our OG jacket, Yelan, 2.95 seconds to take out our Regis Vine friend. And up next is our debatably jacketless husbando, Neuvillette. Neuvillette is able to simply use his skill, which very quickly generates 3 blue balls for him, and then do an animation cancel charge attack to obliterate our poor Regis Vine friend in a blistering 1.72 seconds. Without precasting allowed, this might just be the fastest time in a DPS Showdown. And last but certainly not the least, jacket-wise, we have Wriothesley. Wriothesley comes out with a quick 3-punch uppercut combo which dispatched of our Pyro Regis Vine friend in a very competitive 2.47 seconds, proving that his jacket can certainly still hang with the best. Our next volunteer is a newcomer to the local fauna of Teyvat, the Emperor of Fire and Iron, aka Just a Crab. And if you do like these DPS Showdowns, do smash that like and subscribe button, as these honestly take a ton of effort to make. It'll help motivate me to make more. Anyway, this was actually cutting it quite close for Yelan, and I had to try it a surprising number of times, but in the end she was able to barely single cycle our Just a Crab friend. Interestingly, for some reason that little bit of pyro shield on the crab just won't break, no matter how much Yelan would batter it. Personally, I'm not at all privy to how a shield works, so if someone has an explanation for that, let us know in the comments below. Anyway, the odd shield mechanics of our Just a Crab friend aside, Neuvillette absolutely crushed the competition here. What's also odd about this is that Neuvillette somehow broke the crab's shield faster than Yelan did here as well. Well, either way, Mr. No Jacket cooked our crab friend in just 9.88 seconds. And our largest jacketed individual of them all did reasonably well. Although he didn't even come close to breaking the crab's pyro shield, he did plenty of damage to not need to break its shield. Just the crab resists everything by 70% while its shield is up, so in this case it didn't particularly favor his Hydro contestants. Anyway, Wriothesley's personal damage output is quite decent, and he's able to keep up with Yelan, but he's falling quite short of the monster that is Neuvillette. After our single-phased crab boss fight, we have a 2-phased super angry samurai fight. This fight was super interesting in my opinion, highlighting each character's unique advantages and disadvantages. Yelan, requiring her long burst animation, wasn't able to force Masanori into his second phase before his first attack. As such, she had to patiently wait for Masanori to get his second wind before finishing him off in a very reasonable 15 seconds. Ah yes, Neuvillette proving he is busted once more. Now it is worth noting that I gave Neuvillette his draconic stacks via Zhongli's pillar and Yao Yao's little healing buddy, because as previously mentioned earlier in the video, I utilized their core mechanics when reasonable. Neuvillette was able to do enough damage to Masanori fast enough to immediately force it into its second phase, thus saving a lot of time in this fight. So you might be confused as to why I decided to not have Wriothesley attack Masanori immediately. Well, this highlights a very unique, albeit niche, disadvantage of Cryo as an element. Since Wriothesley cannot force Masanori into his second phase before his first attack, you're actually slowing down Masanori's animations with the Cryo application. As we can see, delaying Wriothesley's attack on Masanori allowed him to not be slowed by Cryo, and thus allowing him to transition to his second phase more quickly. Even with this trick though, Cryo still puts Wriothesley at a disadvantage in this fight, and it took him a bit longer than Yelan. And the next volunteer for us to abuse is a literal child. Alright, I know what you guys are thinking. Child resists Hydro. This is unfair for our Hydro contestants, and you are completely 100% correct. Originally, when I had Ayato as the third contestant, it was fair across the board, but since I last-minutely decided on Wriothesley, it's a bit unfair. But I didn't want to waste this footage. As such, the next enemy we fight actually resists Cryo, and it's kind of interesting to see how these characters do versus enemies that some characters might have a bit of an advantage of over the others. Anyway, Child is actually marginally challenging for our overpowered OG jacket, requiring a different ER-focused build, as well as some battering, and taking 25.9 seconds to complete. Neuvillette also struggled in comparison to what one might expect. Because of the way this fight works, we're not able to pre-build up 3 stacks of his passive, and I found that building those stacks actually just slows him down here. The first 2 phases required interesting ball handling, where I could quickly expend his first set of blue balls versus the first phase. Then we had to manually pump up his second laser pump for the second phase. And against third phase Child, well, it was really weird to see such small numbers coming from Neuvillette's massive laser, but he was still able to finish Child off in 22.6 seconds. So I doubt any of us were surprised to see Wriothesley win this one given Child's resistance to Hydro, but he also had a couple more advantages going for him. He's able to not waste time opening up with a burst, and also easily queued up a second charge attack nuke to insta-glib both first and second forms of Child. Third form Child was just a simple matter of tracking Child down and finishing him off with a single charge attack combo. This definitely could have been even faster with good Child RNG, but alas, I already tried this quite a few times and Child would just not teleport the way I wanted him to. As mentioned earlier, and to somewhat even the playing field, the next enemy has higher cryo resistance, our dual ballerina Vishap friends. Yet again, Yelan did just enough damage to single rotation both the ballerina Vishaps, proving that the OG jacket still has enough thread count to hang with the rest. Yelan's mobility was also a major asset here as well, allowing her to quickly reposition herself to fight the other ballerina Vishap once we've brutally murdered its partner, a respectable 16.17 second clear time. Neuvillette once again dominated the field, and the original reason I wanted to include this fight was because it's actually a fight with more than one target. This made it the perfect candidate for the infamous spin to win Neuvillette tech, clearing it in a blistering fast 10.58 seconds, and proving that Neuvillette is the superior ballerina. Unsurprisingly, Wriothesley struggled here in comparison to most of the other fights. Him being a melee character struggles to close the gap after the Vishaps decide it's time for their main performance as they spin menacingly in the center. By dispersing some damage between the two, I was able to take them out in 20.13 seconds, just in time before things got unsustainable from a healing perspective for Wriothesley. And with that, all the overworld showcases are complete. Let's throw all 3 of these jackets into full team scenarios in the top half of Abyss 12. For Yelan, I had to bring a second DPS character for this Abyss 12, and Hu Tao happens to be a great helper for her. Also, the Abyssal Moon does help all 3 of our contestants, but probably Neuvillette more so than the others. Anyway, Yelan was barely able to single cycle our unicorn friend. And for 12-2-1, she utilizes her Constellation 6 to wipe out the first wave, while Hu Tao takes out the second wave. 12-3-1 puts this team in an awkward scenario, but I have Hu Tao push the maiden to the side, where Venti can quickly ultimate to pick up the 2 Fatui agents. I'm certain Yelan and Hu Tao can do this faster, but they will be hard pressed to catch up to Neuvillette or Wriothesley for this Abyss 12. And here we go again, Neuvillette being broken as always. He's able to effortlessly laser down the unicorn. And for 12-2-1, he literally only needed his elemental skills amount of blue balls to wipe out 2 entire waves of enemies. 12-3-1 even has the Mirror Maiden, which resists Hydro, but Neuvillette just doesn't care and mows her down. Then he just spins to winds to slaughter the 2 Fatui agents on complete opposite sides of the map. And now we're talking. Wriothesley did much better than I personally anticipated. However, I do admit that I got most of this fancy strategy from CN speedrunners, with some of my own adjustments. Wriothesley cleanly melts our unicorn friend in a single uppercut. And thanks to his lowered HP from 12-on-1, he opens up with an uppercut and then does a second uppercut to one-shot both waves. 12-3-1 was a bit tricky due to energy issues, but Wriothesley is able to uppercut the Mirror Maiden and the 2 Fatui agents with some very impressive melt damage. And here are the final results of my anecdotal comparisons between these 3 amazing characters. So Yelan used to be the queen of DPS Showdowns, and nowadays she is still an incredible character. Given that Yelan is also actually good at being an off-field character, I do think her performance here is quite stellar, even if she was a bit slower than her 2 main DPS contestants. Although she did require the help of Hu Tao to be in the same ballpark for Abyss 12, but such is the reality of full team showcases where we do need to use other characters. I'm also certain that her Abyss 12 run can be improved, but alas, these videos already take so long, and I did want to get this out to you guys instead of trying to perfect every single run in the video. As for Neuvillette, honestly, he's just pretty darn broken. His raw DPS is ridiculously good, and his AoE is literally broken, making him by far the best AoE DPS character we've seen to date. However, as we can also see, his single target DPS is extraordinarily good as well. Now, one could argue that giving him 3 Draconic stacks in the overworld helps him out more than the others, but again, I think it's a crucial part of his kit, so I decided to include it. Let me know down in the comments below if you think that was fair. As for Wriothesley, well, he did well all things considered. I actually had somewhat low expectations of Wriothesley's performance going into this, but he actually smashed my expectations. His solo damage output keeping up with Yelan is no small feat. Wriothesley is a strong Constellation 6 Refinement 5 character, and he's certainly a lot of fun to play. His Abyss 12 run being effectively tied with Neuvillette is also a testament to how powerful he can be at C6R5. Granted, it took a lot more effort with his melt setups compared to the extremely simple spin to win Neuvillette rotations. It's great to see him not be too far behind with the proper amount of effort in comparison to Neuvillette. And huge thanks to Southern New Hampshire University for sponsoring today's video. You can support my channel by simply signing up for more information on their bachelor's program at snhu.edu/iwintolose. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Went to Lose, signing out.